Thanks for downloading Friday Night Comedy from BBC Radio 4. If you want to find out more, visit the Radio 4 website. But not before you listen to this week's Now Show. It's called Topical for a reason, you know.
Hello, I'm Steve Punt.
And I'm Hugh Dennis.
With us are Daliso, Chaponda, Ivo Graham, Luke Kempner and Pippa Evans. And this is...
The Now Show!
Thank you very much indeed. Well, what seemed to happen this week is that the media realised that now the excitement of Article 50 is over, the next 2 years are going to consist of grindingly boring discussions on all sorts of complicated technicalities. So they really needed to try and keep the excitement going a bit.
Yeah, they looked around and discovered that the negotiating conditions set out by the EU exclude Gibraltar from any final settlement, except by the unanimous agreement of all 27 states.
Well, from there, their job was simple. One leading question and one loosely worded reply from an ex-Tory leader, and it had become...
War with Spain!
And the Sun thought long and hard about their front page. They thought about...
Oh, no war, por favor?
They considered the merits of...
Come and have a go if you think Armada. Nuff.
But eventually they opted for...
Up yours, senors!
Spain could only look on in bemusement, as they hadn't anticipated that a NATO partner would impose such extreme preconditions for a deal. Or as they say in Spain...
No one expects the British precondition! It was the stupidest storm in the dumbest teacup until the next day, when the National Trust stepped into the firing line by advertising a...
Cadbury egg hunt.
Without using the word Easter, probably because the words Easter fun were written in huge letters right next to it, and they had rightly decided that Easter fun, Easter egg hunt looked tautologous and clumsy. But that cut no ice with the press.
No, because again they'd spotted a story, and before you know it, the Prime Minister herself was scolding the National Trust for...
betraying our Christian values.
Which she did, standing in a country that beheads people while trying to sell them missiles. The papers happily went along with this nonsense, with the honourable exception of The Independent, whose headline was...
May wades into Easter egg row, despite apparently thin grasp of story.
And a number of Twitter users pointed out that Theresa May has refused to condemn Donald Trump's Muslim ban,
Refused to condemn attacks on Supreme Court judges,
Refused to condemn using anti-terrorism cooperation as a Brexit negotiating ploy.
but was happy to condemn the National Trust for teaming up with a commercial sponsor, exactly as the Tories want charities to do. It did do the trick, though. Cadbury's did indeed cave in to the Prime Minister's pressure, and the offending phrase was changed to the wording she wanted.
Easter egg hunt, funded by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
She didn't avoid human rights completely, though, and she said that she would be discussing some...
Hard topics with the Saudis.
Now, the problem there is that we don't really know what hard topics actually means. I mean, that could cover any number of things.
King Solomon, before we come on to trade talk, I wish to discuss some hard topics with you.
We were expecting this, Prime Minister. Please feel free.
OK. First, how do you measure the area inside a rhombus?
That is hard.
Exactly, yes. Also, why doesn't the standard model of physics fully account for gravity?
Wow.
And finally, and trickiest of all...
Yes, I know. You're going to ask about human rights and the oppression of women.
Oh, no. I was going to say, should Arsene Wenger stay or go?
There was a YouGov survey last week which asked referendum leave voters what they'd like to bring back once we've left the EU. Top choices included, in no particular order...
The death penalty.
Abolished voluntarily 8 years before we joined the EU, and potentially putting Britain in a bracket with the likes of Iran, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and those parts of the US where people marry their own pickup truck.
Selling goods in pounds and ounces.
Paid for in groats and florins. Nobody under 40 knows what pounds and ounces are unless they're on a diet or buy a lot of cannabis.
Corporal punishment in schools.
Yes, otherwise known as beating children. Strongly supported by two groups of people, nostalgic sadists and litigation lawyers who are salivating at the prospect.
Smoking in pubs and restaurants.
Because once we leave Europe, cancer will cease to exist.
Now, some Leave voters are really annoyed by this survey because it kind of confirms every stereotype of Brexit as a sort of political saga holiday, a coach trip to a 1950s holiday camp.
Here's the latest thing in family holidays. After Article 50, why not spend summer at right of centre parks? Relax under our weatherproof dome full of coal smoke while your children are hit with rulers for wearing the wrong swimming kit. Book now at just 14 guineas a week.
But the thing is, see, I don't think it really means that at all. I think all the survey shows, really, is that we all have a tendency to normalise things that we experienced in our own lifetime. And we all do it. I mean, I do it. For example, when I was 8 years old, I did Bob a Job Week as a Cub Scout. And I would quite like to bring that back. But I do accept that it is not feasible anymore to send small boys in shorts into the houses of complete strangers saying, I'll do anything you want for 5p. So I don't really understand this obsession with wanting to bring things back that were unsafe or horrible just because you used to do them. I mean, we're leaving Europe, not the 21st century, so stick that in your pipe and smoke it outside in the smokers area. Thank you very much. And now to talk about that Pepsi advert, it's our very own rippling Diet Coke hunk, Ivo Graham.
That's right. I'm here to talk about the Pepsi advert that came out starring Kendall Jenner. Thank God, I hear you cry. Someone we don't know advertising something we don't drink. Bitingly relevant, pray continue. Now, if you don't know, Kendall Jenner is an American reality star and model, and she's very like Theresa May in that she's got very few discernible principles but absolutely cracking legs. She's famous, but I'm aware she's not your typical Radio 4 celebrity, and I know that because my dad hasn't heard of her. My father keeps up with the Archers, not the Kardashians. Now, my dad's not on Twitter or Instagram or any other social media. He does all of his trolling on the family WhatsApp group. Log in, belittle his children, accidental emoji. In general, I think that if you're not on social media, you probably have a simpler and a happier life. However, it does mean that you wouldn't have been there on Tuesday night for the raging Twitter storm about just how bad this Pepsi advert was. In short, it's a really bad advert. And when I say it's really bad, I don't mean like an annoying jingle like Go Compare or Compare the Meerkat or the Halifax staff singing Isa, Isa, Baby, which I maintain is very funny. I'm talking a 2.5-minute short film so colossally misjudged in tone, it got mauled by the internet and it got taken down by Pepsi the day after it was released. It's part of Pepsi's Live for Now campaign, which is all about young people and spontaneity. Because, you know, Pepsi's a very spontaneous brand in that it's a drink you literally never plan to buy. What's that you say? Coke's not available? I guess I'll just have to live in the moment then. Now, companies are obsessed, I think, with young people being spontaneous, and I disagree. I think my generation is the absolute big dog of not living in the moment. 10% of our lives spent having fun, 90% online watching other people have more fun, clicking like to mask our sadness. I'm aware that may just be me. I'm not a very spontaneous person. I buy my bananas green. However, I might not have fitted into this advert which features celebrity model Kendall Jenner being all spontaneous because she's in the middle of a sexy model photo shoot, and then suddenly she sees a non-specific protest going past in the street outside, and she's so immediately consumed by the spirit of social justice that she just storms out of the shoot to go and join the march. It's not just social justice, to be fair. She's also received flirty eye contact from a handsome protester holding a cello. Because there's always room for a fit cellist. Now, the thing is, I've actually been on a few protest marches this year. You may have been as well. They're very in vogue at the moment on account of all the awful things constantly happening in the world. And I've been lucky in that on the marches I've been on, I haven't had any trouble with the police. I haven't got bashed about by any feds. I haven't had my collar felt by the old Bill. But in the history of these protests and their causes, which have been cynically adopted by Pepsi for commercial gain, there has been the uncomfortable issue of police violence. And sure enough, in this advert, the police do turn up to ruin the fun, and the protesters don't know what to do, and they're confused and they're scared. But they don't need to be scared, and I'll tell you for why. Because Kendall's there to stride right up to one of the officers and give him an ice-cold can of sweet, sweet Pepsi. And everybody laughs, and they cheer, and they all hug one another and give big credit to the... And everyone laughs, and they cheer, and they hug one another and give big credit to the actor who plays that police officer. He really nails his smile. That cheeky wink to camera that just says, that carbonated drink was so delicious, I'm not going to beat up any more minorities. Now, people are very angry about this advert, and I'm making jokes about it being inappropriate, but at the same time, I'm aware that I'm quite privileged and therefore implicitly quite detached, because when I was on the Women's March earlier this year, or the March Against the Travel Ban, I was there to stand up for what I believe in and show solidarity with the victims of oppression. But I wasn't just there for that, because if I was, I wouldn't have spent the entire day beforehand worrying about what funny placard I was going to make to take with me. I really wanted a funny placard for the anti-Trump march. I got obsessed, but the pressure got too much, and so I couldn't decide what to write. So if you're wondering, I was the guy on BBC News wandering around Parliament Square waving a blank piece of cardboard. What a thrillingly postmodern act of defiance that was. And not just any cardboard, but cardboard I'd got from an old Amazon Prime package. Because that's the kind of mixed message I like to send at an anti-establishment march. Down with elites, down with capitalism, but I still want my books delivered by midday tomorrow. And there's another saying, which is a very 2017 saying I'd never heard before. I got talking to a girl I met at one of these protests, and I said, do you come to these a lot? And she said, oh, yeah, I do. Protesting is the new brunch. And there were a few seconds where I didn't know whether that was cool or whether I felt sick. Because on the one hand, it's inspiring. It implies a sort of dedicated daily protest. But I think at the same time, it just made me think, I hate being part of the brunch generation. It's that exact sort of modern, hipster, selfie-taking, brunching attitude that corporations like Pepsi can just hijack to advocate protest as a sort of trendy lifestyle choice. This march isn't a protest. It's just a really fashionable way of getting from one macchiato to another. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are going to a march soon, please engage with the message, don't make it all about you, and above all, remember, there's a massive difference between smashing the system and smashing an avocado. And pack a Dr. Pepper just in case things really kick off. Thank you.
So as we've heard, two major PR disasters this week, the Cadbury's Easter egg hunt and the new Pepsi ad. But how do gaffes like that happen, and how should companies respond when they do?
To help us answer those questions, would you please welcome former CEO of Chime Communications and Professor of PR at Richmond University, Trevor Morris.
Trevor, welcome. So, Pepsi and the Cadbury's Easter egg hunt, where do they rank as PR disasters?
I think Pepsi will be seen as quite a serious PR disaster and will be remembered for some time. The Cadbury one, much less so. Actually, Cadbury may have even benefited from what's being called a PR disaster. More people will go to National Trust to search for eggs now, because more people know about it.
And quite good for the Church of England as well, presumably.
Well, yeah, I think it was... the story was the Church of England's PR team reacting to an opportunity. They've got onto it and they've talked about the church and Easter, something that doesn't often happen. Well done, Church, you know.
I'm absolutely staggered that you talk about the Church of England's PR team. Does the Church of England have a PR team?
Everybody has a PR team. Wow. When people talk about PR, they tend to imagine PR for companies like Cadbury's and Starbucks and things like that. But, you know, every charity, every NGO, every university, religions, they all have PR teams now.
And do you think these two have been handled well? Do you think the Pepsi thing's been handled well?
Well, in terms of withdrawing it quickly, yeah, that's the only thing they could do, because if you looked at what was going on online, taking the mickey out of it, and that's, of course, where most people would have seen it, they had to take it down. There was no escape from that. And the apology was quick, clean, so they've done as much as they can to limit the damage.
And so do you think that it is now more tricky because the world is digital?
Yeah, without a doubt. You can get people from all over the world who actually may be a very small percentage of the total population, but they can gather together quite quickly, online, and look like a force, and they can be very violent in their tone of voice. And then, of course, the media have got a story. There has been an outrage on Twitter. Now we've got a story.
There's also a problem, wasn't there, famously with Susan Boyle, for example, because you put words together, don't you? It was Susan's album party, which was promoted by Susan Boyle herself. But if you read it wrong, it said Sue's anal bum party. Which was out there for a while, in fact.
And, of course, may possibly have helped sell albums.
Do you think you would have stopped Krispy Kreme donuts, spelt with a K, obviously, isn't it, Krispy Kreme donuts? Do you think you would have stopped one franchisee calling it Krispy Kreme Club? So you got KKK Wednesday?
It is extraordinary that nobody did. But people get very insular. They start to see their world and they think, we're good people, we're decent people, we're not out to hurt anybody, and they just don't see those things.
And do you think companies make PR gaffes deliberately sometimes?
Certainly, without a doubt, because then it creates a media story.
So the old adage that all publicity is good publicity, there is truth in that, is there?
Well, I don't fully buy that in, because I don't think that would be the case for Pepsi. But I mean, broadly, Ryanair, virtually nothing good is said about them, and yet they do really well. There's a singular message going out there about price. And I hate to say it, and it's upsetting in many ways, but Trump, said shocking things. He didn't care about the people he upset, who were never going to vote for him anyway. He got his message out there, and people could remember his policies. And frankly, people struggle to remember Hillary's policies.
So we've had a lot of fun this week looking through some PR disasters of the past. So we're going to give you a quick test, if you don't mind, on famous PR crises. So first question is this. During the financial crisis, what PR error did the CEOs of Chrysler, Ford and GM make when they went to Washington to ask the US government for a bailout?
Oh, I don't know. Pass. Sorry, go on.
They all went in private jets. Who knocked £500 million off the value of their company with one speech in 1991?
Gerald Ratner.
Yes.
Yeah. He said the firm's earrings were cheaper than an M&S prawn sandwich but won't last as long. Why did the Rolls-Royce Silver Mist change its name to the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow?
Something to do with it not translating well. Yeah.
Point for that, I think. Yeah.
Do you know what mist meant in Germany?
No.
Manure.
Oh.
So the Rolls-Royce Silver Manure was thought not to be a very successful name. And finally, why did Urban Outfitters have a clothing PR disaster?
It was something to do with race, wasn't it?
Well, it was black and white striped trousers, which, of course, were reminiscent of prisoners wearing them during the Holocaust. So the designer apologised, but interestingly, he remains in the Labour Party.
That's it. Excellent. Yes. Thank you very much indeed, Trevor Morris.
And now, coming to the Now Show via Malawi, Canada and South Africa. It's either a massive balls up at DHL or it's Daliso Chaponda.
Hello. I am Daliso Chaponda, a Malawian comedian, and I'm here because Comic Relief raised so much money this year that you can have a real African on the BBC. Also, you'll be happy to know that all money I'm paid for this appearance will go to feed an African family, mine. Now, you have been stressed very recently about the Article 50 trigger. You're having your post-Brexit divorce talks. Will you get a bad deal? Will you get a good deal? Well, don't worry. I've got the backup plan for you. If you get a bad deal, don't worry. You can't be in the EU anymore. Join the African Union. Think about it. Your money's been devalued. You didn't elect your leader. You're practically African. And speaking of dictators, Kim Jong-un has been in the news. That's why I'm here. I'm the BBC's official expert on dictatorships. I grew up under one. Don't feel sorry for me. It wasn't all bad. Yes, there was no freedom of speech, but there are some good things. You see, all the stress you've had, all the divisiveness over the Brexit referendum, this would never have happened if you just rigged the vote. Also, under dictatorship, every time you have phone sex, it's a threesome because someone's listening in. This week, Kim Jong-un is angry. He's in the news because John McCain made a statement that
only China can control that crazy fat kid that runs Korea.
This immediately upset Donald Trump. I follow Trump on Twitter because I'm a comedian. Now, I don't like that it's called following. Twitter needs a new button called monitoring. I monitoring him as I would a criminal who moved in next door. So, after McCain says that only China can solve Korea, Trump says in an interview,
if China won't solve North Korea, we will.
When asked how, he said,
I don't have to tell you. It's a brilliant plan. It's a secret and brilliant plan. It's the greatest plan that has ever been made. Hannibal and the whole of the A-team would love seeing it come together.
The other thing is McCain's full statement was that crazy fat kid. The Korean news service is only angry about fat. Crazy's fine, yeah, call him crazy. Kid, yeah, he's a child, call him infantile, no problem, but don't you ever call him fat. And this is not the first time. In November, North Korean officials made a request to China to stop their citizens on social media from calling him Fatty Kim III. I pity the poor diplomat who had to bring that up. Can we add one clause on the trade deal? He's just big-boned. Now, North Korea was so outraged that John McCain called Kim Jong-un fat that they said it was little short of a declaration of war. Imagine that's how we get our nuclear holocaust. Could you imagine in some nuclear bunker, children learning about how the First World War was sparked by the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, the Second World War after Germany invaded Poland, and World War III after a leader was called fat? Now, the North Korean news network's full response was, noted idiot John McCain has been denounced as an infantile lunatic angrily soiling himself after slandering august personages of DPRK. You called us fat, we'll say you soiled yourself. Now, learning Kim Jong-un hates being called fat does have one positive for all of us. We finally have a guiltless target for our fat jokes. Think about it. Even when you come up with a clever "your mama's so fat" joke, you feel kind of guilty, right? Not if you use it on a supreme dictator. This is what fat shaming is for. You now have a noble target.
No, hold on, Daliso. Kim Jong-un is the one who sentenced the comedian to hard labour because of a joke, and the makers of the interview feared assassination because they'd mocked him. Do you really think it's a good move to make fun of him?
Well, you have to understand, I'm a poor African comedian. I had no choice but to say these words. I didn't even write them. You hired me and told me to say them.
Well, no, it wasn't me. No. In fact, I've always thought that Kim Jong-un has perfect proportions and really marvellous hair.
Well, I didn't write these jokes. The Now Show emailed me. Was it you, Steve?
No, I would go so far as to say that the BBC and I think the UK as a whole are unified in their admiration of the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea.
Wait, I didn't write these jokes. They were in my inbox. I must have been hacked. You know, my name isn't even Daliso Chaponda. I'm Lenny Henry. Now I've got to get back to the Premier Inn. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pippa Evans.
Sweet Lemons, Virginia Water, Black Sundance Jackson. Hi. And this is my husband, Wade.
Hi.
On Sunday, we performed at the Country Music Awards.
We sure did.
Yeah, outside the Country Music Awards. We were touched by the story of takeaway company Deliveroo being creative with their language and how they describe their employees to get out of paying their taxes. You know, I don't think they treat their workers right. Instead of staff, they call them independent suppliers. Makes them sound like drug dealers. They don't hire these independent suppliers. They onboard them. Remember when you first onboarded me, Wade?
Sure.
I forgot my life jacket.
Deliveroo are making up vocabulary to describe their relationship. We understand their plight. Wade and I, well, we've always had trouble defining our relationship. You don't call me your wife, you call me
Lady in my bed, You don't call me husband, you call me.
Man I wish was dead.
It's not a ring on your finger.
It's a medal that got stuck.
Sometimes relationships just suck. You won't say, how are you? You say,
go get me a beer. You won't say good morning, you say,
why are you still here?
I love you's not a phrase that you ever said to me, but I'm better off with you financially. Nobody wants to be the one who says you are disposable, it's true. Don't lay down the facts.
It might cost you some tax. We have been there to deliver it. Nobody wants to be the one who says there ain't no future with you. Be careful what you say. Take those workers' rights away. We see what you do, Deliveroo. We got our eye on you, Deliveroo. We see what you do, Deliveroo.
Thank you.
So, you may have seen this week that Steve Bannon was sacked from the USA's National Security Council, so we have asked our audience who they would like to sack and why. My secretary. Why? I'm supposed to be in the audience for the One Show.
Who would you like to sack? Piers Morgan. Why? Because the answer is guaranteed to get a cheer from the audience.
Who would you like to sack? No one. Why? I sacked someone this morning. That's enough for one day. It's signed Jeremy Corbyn.
Who would you like to sack? Ed Sheeran. Why? To let other people have a go.
Well, thank you very much indeed for those. We'll be passing those suggestions on to the appropriate authorities. Thank you for listening and goodbye.
You've been listening to The Now Show, starring Steve Punt, Hugh Dennis, Daliso, Chaponda, Ivo Graham, Luke Kempner, Pippa Evans and Trevor Morris. It was written by the cast with additional material from Sarah Morgan, Sarah Campbell, Robin Morgan and Jenny Collier. The producer was Joe Nunnery. It was a BBC Studios production. That was The Now Show from Friday Night Comedy on BBC Radio 4. If you've enjoyed this download, why not visit the Radio 4 website, where you'll find other programmes to download and keep forever, entirely free.